What is the weirdest thing a man has assumed about you because of your gender? That I was a lesbian because I had been single for +3 years. The man in question was convinced that hetero women would always need a man to depend on. And since I didn't, I must have been a lesbian. That doesn't even make sense, LMAO. Like, even if you're a lesbian, you were still single. What the duck? My ex thought that women only listen to music by other women and that men only listen to music by other men. This is pretty common, unfortunately, but I met a guy who was genuinely surprised that I liked the LOTR movies. Like, he couldn't understand why I'd be interested in movies with compelling storylines, beautiful scenery, epic battles, emotional scenes, and hot dudes. Not to forget, a badass like Galadriel. He said, "What? But you're a girl? How can you like them?" I just laughed and said that was absurd. Why wouldn't a woman like them? He didn't have a reply. That I would have no troubles having an orgasm because prior girls have all orgasmed from the same technique he was using. Yeah dude, we don't all have the same vagina. Hahaha. Did you ask him if he was sure they'd orgasmed and weren't faking? Those women were faking it 100%. This has happened with both older men and women actually, but I share a workspace with a male coworker who just graduated college. And I've been in the workforce for 3 years now. Without fail, people assume I am an intern and that he is the real employee. Same. 3 job levels above my male coworker, but everyone assumes he's in charge. That I want children. I remember telling a male coworker I don't want children and he looked like I fried his brain. Yeah, I held a family friend's baby one time. It was dead asleep and kinda was cute. Moment started fussing, I gave it back. My mom says, "You change your mind yet?" The mother of baby says, "OMG, you don't want kids even after holding him." I was so shook that she thought 5 minutes of holding her spawn would make me reconsider my life choices that I feel very strongly about as a 28 female. LOL. Note to avoid downvotes. Ain't no problem with women who want to have kids. I just don't want any. LOL. I had a coworker always assume I was on my period when I'd tell him to work. He'd pop back at me saying, "You're just on your period, stop being a bee," when I asked him to make chips. Fired him before he could find out that was not the case. What the duck? How old was he? 13. Constantly assuming I don't like video games, then proceeding to mansplain video games I've been playing for years. Happened at my work. I was talking to my new coworkers about my hobbies. I like video games. Oh, please don't say you like video games because you play The Sims. Yes, OFC, because there are girls games and boys games. And girls games are not real games. SMH. That my leg hairs couldn't grow as big as his. This made me chuckle. Did you prove him wrong? Once my friend and I were talking about social media. He asked me, "Well, why do you girls always post pictures of asses on Instagram?" I told him I didn't even have Instagram. He was so shocked. That since I'm at an office building, I must be a secretary. Pretty sure that when I told him, "No, I'm a web developer," he didn't believe me. Had one of those condescending "sure you are, honey" expressions. Yeah. I was interviewing a kid from Stanford for an entry-level software engineering role and asking him about binary search. He refused to answer me properly because he thought I wouldn't understand the answer. Why the heck would I ask? Then, we went through this song and dance for a bit until I finally clarified that I was an engineer and this is why he had a technical interview with me. He looked absolutely floored and blurts out, "Oh, I thought you were in customer service because you don't look like an engineer. So, I spent 20 minutes asking you about binary search and explaining how trees work because I'm in customer service. Duck you, kid." He didn't get the job. The most infuriating. A colleague at the museum where I work asked me if my boyfriend was into military history because I knew quite a bit about the Austro-Hungarian army. When I told him that I didn't have a boyfriend and B was in fact a military historian who primarily focused on the K&K Austro-Hungarian monarchy, he said, "Oh well, I guess girls like men in uniform." The most recent, an otherwise really nice guy from my D&D group was pretty shocked that I didn't want to mind his baby for an hour or two while the rest of their group went to have pint at the pub. I explained that no, I was not good with kids, and he acted really shocked. His reasoning was I had to love babies, otherwise I wouldn't dress so feminine. That I don't have a humor. Like, I was complimented by one of my uni colleagues that I have a humor because obviously was so strange to have cause I am a woman and it was so rare. How sheltered are these people? I am a comic book junkie. Have been since I was 4 years old and saw my first superhero film. It is a huge part of my identity and even is the reason I chose my college major. Comic books got me through a lot, from a reading disability to severe anxiety. It never fails, however, that men are constantly shocked with my superhero knowledge. How could I, a femme-presenting female, know anything about superheroes or comic books? I can't tell you how many men have tried to one-up me with their knowledge. I don't even engage with them anymore. They are not worth my time. Or, when they realize I am serious, have hit on me because I am not like other girls. On the flip side, men also tend to assume I must be into mushy romance novels and similar movies. I am not, so that doesn't help their shock that I enjoy comic books and action movies. That I believed in zodiac shit. I have to, because girls dig this stuff. Ugh, I hate that one. Horoscopes and zodiac signs are the biggest bunch of hooey to me, and I have a hard time taking anyone seriously who is heavily into that stuff. I see it as akin to being a religious fundamentalist and I do not vibe with those people, regardless of which religion they follow. I've been watching the majority of professional sports for 25 years now. I know what I'm talking about. I also know more about strategy, lineups, types of play than the average person. When in a bar, my opinion, no matter how correct or backed up with facts, gets ignored pretty regularly from some guys. Especially the ones who pick up I know what I'm talking about and don't want to look dumb. They will just talk over me to anyone else who they think might agree with them. When I was 13 I attended a chemistry competition. There were only like 5 girls and maybe 40 guys, most of them a year or two older than me. I could hear the guys that sat beside me laughing and looking at me with judgment. The fact that I had a pink calculator didn't help. Guess who won the first place? Their faces were priceless. In general, men seem to be surprised that I'm well-rounded and have interests. A lot of them can't fathom that I enjoy taking care of myself, yet often wear sweats and no makeup outside if I feel like being comfy. That I work out every day and eat healthy, thus I'm in shape, yet can eat 2 entire pizzas by myself and do that fairly often. That I love listening to Ariana Grande and other pop songs, but also like classical and hip hop. A lot of men seem so surprised when they see women not being one-dimensional. I know so many women who are gorgeous, but also very successful, and funny, and well-educated, and it always seems to intimidate men. It's strange because when men learn that another man has a large variety of interests, hobbies, and skills, they never seem surprised. But when a woman who can be considered conventionally attractive has any hobbies outside of shopping, tanning, and drinking white wine, they are absolutely shocked. Guy stopped me from putting diesel in my car once. He looked at me like I was crazy and sputtered out that what I had in my hand was the nozzle for the diesel pump. I stared at him dumbfounded before I just said, "I know, it's a diesel car." People are always mind blown when I tell them I'm the one that builds stuff in my house, and that I don't trust my husband to. Your game shelves are great. How long did it take your husband to build them? It took me about 3 hours to assemble a range anchor to the wall. You did it. Why didn't your husband? Not to say the amount of people shocked when I tell them most of the games are mine. I am kinky because I am reenacting the negative psychological effects of birth order. Wanting sex more than once every week means you are oversexed. Not wearing a wedding ring means I am single and interested in you. A socially tone deaf 60+ colleague. A very common one but a weird one to me. Men often assume that I don't understand finances because I'm a woman. I've had guys mansplaining basic things to me. They weren't even right some of the times. Just because as a man, he naturally knows much more about money than I ever will. Disclaimer, I want to be educated by experienced people when it comes to finances. I don't mind someone lecturing me about money. What I do mind is men talking to me like I'm a baby and telling me things they are wrong about. That I couldn't take a hit. Because girl, I was placed with a male sparring partner because we had similar builds and height. Coach knew I could take a decent amount of damage, so he wasn't worried. But my partner, he was befuddled that he was given a girl as his partner because one hit and you'll be out. He had years of experience on me, in regards to trained fighting, but he honest to God thought girls just never got hit or something. After a few childish bats from him I went full bore, so he decided to match. He hooped me, but I never stayed down. That terrified him, because girls shouldn't be able to get back up hit by a man. They cry. They need protecting because they're weak. Coach pretty much wanted to teach him that just because he might be against a woman, doesn't mean it's going to be easy going. Coach also knew I was a human punching bag for a long time, as that plus a stalker was why I started training anyways. I worked as a scuba diving instructor, and before you can become an instructor you need to pass a scuba rescue course. Basically you are capable of rescuing either a panicked, unconscious or drowned victim from the bottom of the lake or ocean. Well, my first rescue course instructor refused to teach me these skills because I was female and no one would ever ask me to rescue someone or be put in a situation to perform these skills. A few months later I was diving in a local lake with some buddies and that same instructor was there and got wrapped up with some weeds and was panicking. Guess who went to rescue him?